Listen, yo, we need to talk about what's happening with our girl, Wendy Williams, because this situation is getting messier than a toddler with finger paint. Here's the tea. Wendy's out here fighting for her freedom, literally calling from what she describes as a luxury prison, aka the fifth floor memory unit where she's being held under guardianship. Now, you might be thinking, wait, wasn't she diagnosed with frontotemporal dementia? Well, that's exactly what Wendy's fighting against, and she's not holding back. Despite being told by the courts to keep quiet, sis is speaking out everywhere from the Breakfast Club to TMZ, basically saying, not today, Satan, to these dementia claims. And get this, the whole situation exploded after that Lifetime documentary dropped, which now has a $20 million lawsuit attached to it. But here's where it gets real interesting. Wendy's calling it blood money and wants nothing to do with it, while her guardian, Sabrina Moresi, is out here filing lawsuits in her name. Meanwhile, Wendy's family is linking up with Ben Crump's law firm trying to get to the bottom of this guardianship situation, because something ain't adding up. The same woman who's sharp enough to coordinate a black catsuit moment for TMZ through her window is supposedly unable to make her own decisions? Child, please. And now, after Wendy's recent media appearances where she's been spilling all the tea, her guardian wants a new medical evaluation. The timing feels about as suspicious as your ex posting thirst traps right after your breakup. But here's what's really got people talking. This dementia diagnosis they're pushing typically takes 3 years to confirm, but they slap that label on Wendy faster than a TikTok trend goes viral. We've got receipts showing her son previously mentioned alcohol-induced dementia, a whole different situation. And now suddenly it's something else? Make it make sense. This isn't just another celebrity drama. This is about a woman fighting for her right to control her own narrative, her own money, and her own life. And trust me, this story is far from over. Y'all, let me paint you a picture of what's really happening with our girl Wendy Williams right now, because this isn't just your regular celebrity drama. This is straight up wild. Picture being stuck on the 5th floor of what Wendy calls a luxury prison, where you can't even hit the gym without permission. That's right, the same Wendy who had us all saying, "How you doing?" is now living in a memory unit with her phone taken away like a teenager who missed curfew. But here's the gag. She's not going quietly into the night. Despite the courts telling her to zip it and stay away from media, Wendy's out here calling into the Breakfast Club and spilling tea through her window to TMZ like a modern-day Rapunzel. And let's talk about this guardian situation with Sabrina Moresi, because something in the milk ain't clean. This woman has more control over Wendy's life than a stage mom at a beauty pageant, deciding everything from who she talks to how she spends her coins. Meanwhile, Wendy's sitting up there looking snatched in her black catsuit, proving she can still serve looks even through a window, all while being told she can't make decisions for herself. The way they've got her locked down, you'd think she was planning a prison break instead of just trying to live her life. And get this, she can't even freely visit her 94-year-old father without it turning into a whole court situation. We're talking about a woman who built an empire off reading celebrities for filth and keeping it real, now having to ask permission like she's in elementary school trying to use the bathroom. The craziest part, she's watching her own money disappear faster than free samples at Costco, going to lawyers she didn't even choose. This isn't just about Wendy being under guardianship. It's about a woman who's literally watching her life being controlled from the sidelines while staying sharp enough to call out every single thing that's not adding up. And trust me, there's a lot that's not adding up in this situation. The same woman who can articulate exactly why she doesn't want that blood money from the A&E lawsuit is supposedly incapable of making her own choices. Make it make sense. We need to talk about this so-called dementia diagnosis they're trying to pin on Wendy Williams, because something ain't adding up, and I mean at all. Back in May 2023, these doctors at Cornell Medical Center hit her with this frontotemporal dementia diagnosis faster than a TikTok trend goes viral. But here's the tea. This isn't your regular, "I forgot where I put my keys" situation. We're talking about a serious, rare condition that supposedly turns you into, as Wendy puts it, a blithering idiot who can't dress themselves, can't speak, can't listen. Yet here she is, serving looks through her window for TMZ, and reading folks for filth on the Breakfast Club. Make it make sense. And let's talk about the receipts, because this is where it gets real interesting. According to the medical documents, And yes, we've seen them. Frontal temporal dementia typically takes 3 whole years to properly diagnose. 3 years. But somehow they slapped this label on Wendy in what felt like a hot minute. And here's the gag, just 2 years ago, Wendy's son was telling a completely different story, talking about alcohol-induced dementia, which is a whole different situation. Back then, little Kev had his mama on a strict diet, seeing different doctors, and according to reports, she was getting better. But as soon as he tried to help, suddenly it was Operation Get Him Out of the Picture faster than you can say how you doing. Now Sabrina Moresi, the Guardian, is out here requesting new evaluations after Wendy's been spilling tea to the media. Convenient timing, right? It's giving let's silence her because she's making too much sense. The way they're handling this situation is messier than a 2-year-old with a juice box. And here's what's really wild. They're using this diagnosis to justify everything from keeping her in that facility to filing lawsuits in her name. But if you've heard Wendy speak recently, she's sharp enough to call out every single person playing games with her life, including that wolf in sheep's clothing, Will Selby, and her guardian's expensive lawyers who are burning through her money faster than a shopaholic at a designer sale. Y'all, this isn't just about a medical diagnosis. This is about power, control, and who gets to write Wendy's story. And from where I'm sitting, something in this medical mystery is fishier than week-old sushi. Let me break down this Lifetime documentary drama that's got everybody talking, because it's giving more plot twist than a Tyler Perry movie. We're looking at a $20 million lawsuit over Where is Wendy Williams? But here's the gag. Wendy herself is calling it blood money and wants absolutely nothing to do with it. The way this whole thing went down is wild. You've got Will Selby, who Wendy's now calling a wolf in sheep's clothing, and Guardian Sabrina Moresi, allegedly cooking up this deal behind the scenes like they're master chefs of chaos. According to Wendy, she was just along for the ride when all these Lifetime and A&E people were crowding her apartment. But baby, that ride turned into a whole roller coaster nobody signed up for. Now here's where it gets juicy. The Guardian's claiming Wendy didn't have the mental capacity to sign off on this documentary, but somehow had enough capacity to be filmed for it? Make it make sense. And get this, Wendy actually watched the documentary once with her guardian, and she says she'll never watch it again because it was disgusting. Meanwhile, Sabrina Moresi's out here filing lawsuits faster than Instagram models post thirst traps, claiming it's all for Wendy's benefit. But let's keep it a buck. If somebody's suing in your name for $20 million and you're publicly saying, I don't want that money, something's not adding up. The contract situation is messier than a toddler's first attempt at feeding themselves spaghetti. We're talking about signatures that don't match, agreements made when Wendy was allegedly incapacitated, and a whole lot of he said, she said drama. What's really sending me is that despite all this mess, Wendy's still showing love to Lifetime, saying she'd work with them again because they're good people. She's literally separating the network from the snakes, and I'm here for that level of discernment. The fact that this documentary, which was supposed to tell Wendy's story, has turned into this legal battlefield is giving me whiplash. And now, instead of focusing on getting Wendy the freedom she's asking for, everybody's too busy fighting over this lawsuit that the main person involved doesn't even want. It's like watching a group of people argue over what to order for someone at a restaurant while that person is screaming, I'm not even hungry. The whole situation is giving us everything except what we really need, justice for Wendy. We need to have a serious conversation about what's happening with Wendy Williams' bank account. Wendy's out here watching her money evaporate faster than a puddle in the Sahara, and she can't do a thing about it. We're talking about expensive law firms running up tabs like they're at a 5-star restaurant with somebody else's credit card. Except in this case, it's all Wendy's money. Now, Sabrina Moresi's attorney, Robbie Kaplan, is trying to tell us they haven't seen a dime yet and won't get paid unless they win this A&E lawsuit. But hold up, somebody's paying for all these legal moves, right? Because last time I checked, lawyers don't work for IOUs and good vibes. Wendy herself is spilling the tea, telling the Breakfast Club that her wallet is depleted with a few dollars after 3 years of this guardianship mess. Y'all, this is the same woman who built an empire from reading celebrities and keeping it real, now sitting in a facility watching her hard-earned money being managed by folks she didn't even choose. It's giving rich auntie's bank account being handled by that one cousin nobody trusts. The Guardian's team is out here acting like they're doing charity work, but Wendy's telling us her money is slowly dwindling away on all these legal fees. And let's talk about this $20 million lawsuit they're pushing. The one Wendy calls blood money and wants no parts of. They're claiming it's to help pay for her health care and recoup losses. But if the main person involved is saying, I don't want it, who is this really benefiting? The math ain't matching, and the numbers ain't adding up. What's really sending me is how they've got Wendy, a whole media mogul, sitting up there with just a few dollars in her wallet like she's a college student waiting for her next financial aid check. Meanwhile, these lawyers are filing motions and running up bills faster than a shopaholic with a new credit card. And don't even get me started on how they're trying to justify all these expenses while keeping Wendy locked away in what she calls a luxury prison. The whole situation is giving financial abuse wrapped in legal paperwork with a bow of we're doing what's best for her on top. Something's got to give, because watching Wendy Williams' empire being managed like this is more painful than watching somebody try to parallel park for the first time. Listen, y'all need to understand what's really going down with Wendy's family situation, because this right here is heartbreaking on a whole different level. We're talking about a woman who can't even freely see her 94-year-old daddy on his birthday without it turning into a whole court production. Like, imagine having to get permission to hug your own father. It's giving prison visits, not family reunion. But the family ain't taking this lying down. They've linked up with Ben Crump's law firm. And if you know anything about Ben Crump, you know he don't play about civil rights and justice. The family dropped a statement that's basically saying something in these guardianship streets ain't right, and they're determined to get to the bottom of it. What's really sending me is how they've got Wendy isolated from the people who know her best. Her son, little Kev, had her on a whole health journey, getting her right with doctors he trusted, and suddenly, poof, they pushed him out of the picture faster than a side piece when the main one shows up. The family's watching their loved one through headlines and TMZ footage, like they're fans instead of flesh and blood. And let's talk about this guardianship review they're pushing for, because somebody needs to make it make sense how Wendy went from getting better with her family's help to being locked away in what she calls a luxury prison. The family statement hit different too. They're talking about self-determination and dignity like they're fighting for basic human rights, because at this point, that's exactly what it is. They're watching their sister, their daughter, their mother being controlled like a puppet while her money's disappearing and her freedom's getting snatched away. And you know what's really wild? These are the same people who've known Wendy her whole life, who can tell the difference between her regular hot takes and actual concerns being pushed to the side like they don't even exist. The family's not just fighting for visits or phone calls. They're fighting for Wendy's right to live her life with the people who actually care about her well-being, not her wallet. This ain't just about getting control back. It's about getting their Wendy back. And until that happens, they're making sure everybody knows that blood might be thicker than water, but this guardianship situation is thicker than cold grits, and something's got to give. Listen, if anybody thought Wendy Williams was just going to sit quietly in that facility and let everybody else tell her story, they clearly don't know who they're dealing with. The way she's been showing up and showing out lately is giving us everything we need to see that Ms. Wendy is still very much herself. Let's start with that TMZ interview. Harvey Levin himself came out and said he had a whole 90-minute conversation with Wendy, and baby, she was sharp as a tack. He's out here telling everybody that the Wendy he talked to is the same Wendy from 10 years ago. Lucid, articulate, and ready to read anybody who's playing games with her life. And can we talk about how she's been calling into the Breakfast Club like she's got a direct hotline to Charlemagne, even after the judge told her to stay quiet? That's the kind of rebellious energy we expect from somebody who built their career on keeping it real. The way she's jumping from topic to topic isn't new. That's just Wendy being Wendy, the same way she's always been on her show. But what's really sending me is how she served us a whole fashion moment through her window for TMZ. Coming through with the black catsuit and the wig, looking snatched like she was about to host Hot Topics from the 5th floor. And let's be clear, this is the same woman they're trying to tell us can't make decisions for herself. The math ain't matching. She's out here claiming her sobriety, breaking down complex legal situations, and calling out every single person who's playing games with her life. Even when she's talking about not wanting that blood money from the A&E lawsuit, she's making more sense than half these people trying to control her narrative. What's really interesting is how every time she makes a public appearance, she proves exactly why she shouldn't be under this guardianship. She's coherent enough to remember specific details about her situation, sharp enough to call out the inconsistencies in her diagnosis, and bold enough to keep speaking her truth even when they're trying to silence her. The way she's navigating these media appearances, despite all the restrictions, is giving us masterclass in refusing to be silenced. And every time she pops up, whether it's through a phone call or a window interview, she's showing us that the real Wendy Williams is still very much present and accounted for. This situation with Wendy Williams isn't just about one talk show host fighting for her freedom. It's exposing a whole system that's got more holes in it than a dollar store strainer. We've seen this movie before with Britney Spears, and now here we are again, watching another powerful woman being stripped of her rights faster than a makeup wipe takes off mascara. The way these conservatorship and guardianships are set up is giving power grab dressed up as protection, and we need to talk about it. Think about it. How is it that somebody can build a whole media empire, run a successful show for years, and suddenly be deemed incapable of making their own decisions? And let's talk about how the media is playing this whole thing. One minute they're painting Wendy as completely incapacitated, the next they're airing full interviews where she's breaking down complex legal situations. It's giving mixed messages, and somebody needs to make it make sense. What's really wild is how we're watching this play out in real time on social media, with everybody having an opinion but nobody having the power to actually change the situation. The public seeing one thing, a woman who's coherent enough to serve looks through a window and spill tea on the Breakfast Club, while the legal system seeing something completely different. It's like watching two different movies playing on the same screen. This whole situation is raising questions that nobody seems to want to answer. At what point does protection become prison? Who's really benefiting from these guardianships? And why does it seem like successful women in entertainment keep ending up in these situations? The way the system's set up, it's easier to put somebody under guardianship than it is to get them out. And that's scarier than running into your ex while looking a hot mess. We're watching somebody who made her career off of speaking her truth now having to fight just to be heard. And if that doesn't make you question everything about how these guardianships work, I don't know what will. This isn't just Wendy's story anymore. It's a wake-up call about power, control, and who gets to decide when somebody's voice matters. And until we start having real conversations about fixing this broken system, we're just going to keep seeing more stories like this. And that's not hot topics. That's just hot mess. Listen, family, what's happening with Wendy Williams is a perfect storm of everything wrong with these guardianship systems. We've got a woman who built her empire on keeping it real, now fighting for her voice from what she calls a luxury prison. From that suspicious dementia diagnosis to the $20 million lawsuit, she wants no parts of. Everything about this situation is screaming, make it make sense. While her money's disappearing into lawyers' pockets, she can't even freely see her 94-year-old daddy. Her family's teaming up with Ben Crump for justice, while her guardian's pushing for new evaluations just because Wendy dared to speak her truth. Yet here she is, serving looks through windows and spilling tea on phone calls, proving she's sharper than the folks trying to silence her. And that's where you come in. Tell it all. Family, hit that subscribe button and smash that notification bell because we're staying on this story like white on rice. Drop your thoughts in the comments. Do you think these guardianships are giving protection or prison? Your voice matters in this conversation. If this breakdown opened your eyes, show some love by liking and sharing this video. Follow us at Tell It All for exclusive updates and behind the scenes tea. Until next time, keep your eyes open and remember, sometimes the real story is what they're trying to hide. Peace out, family.